verse 21 through 21, 3 reads, "Not everyone who calls out to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven. Only those who actually do the will of the Father in heaven will enter. On Judgment Day, many will say to me, 'Lord, Lord, we prophesied in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and performed many miracles in your name.' But I will reply, 'I never knew you. Get away from me, you who break God's laws.'" Here again, a stern warning not to turn away from the law of Moses. Therefore, Jesus ﷺ is agreeing with the message of Muhammad ﷺ and reminding people that God does not change. There is no New Testament or New Covenant. Most importantly here, he is issuing a strong warning. Jesus, in the Bible, in Matthew chapter 7, verse 21 through 23, Jesus is clearly saying, "Do not do these things in my name." That's a violation of God's laws. In Matthew chapter 21, verses 33 through 45, Jesus ﷺ tells the story of the evil farmers to the Pharisees. At the conclusion of his story, he prophesied that the nation of Israel would be taken away from the Jews because they had defied Allah's command. Jesus was prophesying the coming of Islam. Further, in Matthew 23, Jesus ﷺ condemns Jerusalem as a city that kills prophets and messengers, as he tells them of Allah's warnings in verses 34 through 39. "Therefore, I am sending you prophets and wise men and teachers of religious law. But you will kill some by crucifixion. You will flog others with whips in your synagogues, chasing them from city to city. As a result, you will be held responsible for the murder of all godly people of all time, from the murder of righteous Abel to the murder of Zechariah, son of Berechiah, whom you killed in the temple between the sanctuary and the altar. I tell you the truth, this judgment will fall on this very generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones God's messengers, how often have I warned to gather your children together as a hen protects her chicks beneath her wings, but you would not let me. And now look, your house is abandoned and desolate. For I tell you this, you will never see me again until you say, 'Blessings on the one who comes in the name of the Lord.'" This was taught in 30 AD, about 30 AD. It clearly states that the curse, the judgment, will fall on that generation. It was in 70 AD that the Romans completely destroyed Jerusalem and the temple and shattered the land. It was in 70 AD that Israel fell, and from that time on, the Jews became scattered across the earth. The Jews had lost favor with Allah for the last time. Jesus never concealed his true intention for coming to teach. He proclaimed openly that he had not come to bring peace, but he had come bearing a sword. It was the purpose of Jesus ﷺ to destroy the hypocrisy of the Jewish temple and to restore honor and order and correct worship, to prepare the way for the one who brings peace. It was his task to make the world prepared for Muhammad ﷺ. Jesus set father against son, household against household, mother against daughter. Jesus created chaos because his message was firm and strong. Jesus commanded that you are either with Allah or you're not. Yes, Jesus did bring peace. Of course, all messengers of Allah are messengers of peace. But his ultimate task was to bring the harsh reality of it. There's so many times that the Jewish nation had fallen out of favor with God, and God forgave them over and over and over. This was the time that Allah finally removed his protection from them because they had turned away and had perverted his law. After a short but powerful few years of preaching, Jesus ﷺ was threatened with death, and the Romans worked with the temple elders whom Jesus had openly attacked to crucify this great messenger. This was a man who affirmed the law of God, a man who healed the blind, brought the dead back to life, cured diseases of all types, repaired broken limbs, and brought strength of spirit to a people crushed on one side by the Roman Empire, and on the other side by corrupt temple policies. How many today still suffer under the twin blades of religious oppression by zealous churches and demand more and more money from priests while being crushed by corrupted governments? How many people in this world suffer from both? The time may be right for the sword of Christ to return and cut down all these corrupt politicians and religious leaders. Don't think that Muslims are immune. Oh no. There are Muslim leaders of religion and politics both that will fall under the sword when Jesus returns, just like every other religion and nation which oppresses and harms those it should protect and uplift. So take a warning, everyone, take a warning from Jesus ﷺ. He comes bearing a sword. You should do well to submit to the will of Allah, to be on the right side, so that you may embrace paradise. Jesus ﷺ prayed and begged Allah to deliver him from the crucifixion, and Allah made a way that someone else would take his place on the cross. Now, the most popular and authentic interpretation is that Judas took Jesus' place on the cross, and that he was made to look like Jesus in the face, so the Romans would take him instead. Opinions differ on whether this was his choice, or whether Judas decided that he wanted to take the place of his beloved prophet, or if it was punishment from Allah for betraying Jesus ﷺ. We will probably never know during our lifetimes which scenario is true, but the fact is that Judas is erased from history immediately following the crucifixion, and there are 4 different versions of how Judas died, 2 of which appear in the Bible. The fact that Jesus did not die on the cross is supported in the Bible. Remember Hebrews? I told you not to remember it. Hebrews chapter 5 verse 7. During the days of Jesus' life on earth, he offered up prayers and petitions with loud cries and tears to the one who would save him from death, and he was heard because of his reverent submission. You catch that? He offered up prayers to the one who could save him from death, and he was heard because of his reverent submission. That means that Jesus was praying to God, saying, please deliver me, don't let me die, I don't want to die. And God listened to him and gave him his wish. So Hebrews chapter 5 verse 7 clearly illustrates Jesus could not have died on the cross. The most amazing thing is the book of Acts, which was written by the same author as the book of Luke. Within the first few verses, it is evident that Jesus is not only alive, but he is appearing to the disciples to prove